The family that prays together stays together. I am Seminarian Desterious Lisutsa from Kakamega Diocese. Welcome to our sharing today on the parable of the prodigal son with the theme Embracing Forgiveness and Reconciliation. Luke narrates this story of the prodigal son, and it has three characters in them: the young son, the older son, and the father. The young son demands for wealth from his father, and he goes and squanders that wealth in dissipation. And this represents many of us who receive graces through the sacrament of baptism, the sacrament of Eucharist. And we squander them, and we don't mind about who the owner is and how much he suffered and to win for us these graces. The one thing about the young son is that after reflection, he comes back to his senses and realizes that he's wrong. The church gives us avenues through meditation, reflection, and examination of conscience so that we may understand what we have done wrong and we may come back to the path of life. This young son, after realizing that he's lost, he decides to come back to the path of life. We can imagine as he was leaving home, he was flamboyant, he was happy, he was joyous, and all that. But after coming back to his senses, he's in tatters, he's in rags. I imagine how he felt going back, using the same road back home, how people may have laughed at him. He did not mind about that. He was blind and deaf to all that he could have imagined. There's only one thing he remembers, that the Father is merciful. And it's also a challenge to us that however much we sin, whatever big the mistake we have done is, our Father is always willing to welcome us and to hug us warmly. When he comes back home, there is the other character, the older son. We may not blame the older son. From the point of logic, he's right. Like in Matthew chapter 20, we are told of the landowner who invited people at different hours, at the 3rd hour, the 6th hour, 9th hour, and even the 11th hour. This older son may be like those who may have come in the 3rd hour. How do you pay the same price to that who came in the 11th hour? The older son is at home, and I can say he's at home, but he's lost. He's lost in anger and resentment. He does not want to embrace the forgiveness of the Father, the forgiveness which the Father has for the younger son. In his encyclical, Pope John Paul II, Redemptoris Missio, he tells us about the new paradigms of evangelization. He says that evangelization should shift from geographical boundaries to the boundaries of our hearts. This older son is like those Christians who have been baptized, those who come to Mass every day, those Christians who are the good Christians, in quotes. But they don't imagine that they have any mistake. So they judge those Christians whom they feel these ones are they are more sinful. So this older son, he needs evangelization, he needs conversion from his anger and resentment. So as we go through this season of Lent, we may learn that it's good to check into our hearts, introspect, and find where we are wrong. Even if we are good church-going Christians, there is something that is lacking, and we need to work on that. And finally, we meet the Father who is very forgiving, who welcomes the younger son. We learn something, that he does not mind about the mistakes of the young son, and he teaches something about human dignity. Most of us, we value things at the expense of people, but the Father values the child even if he made a mistake, even if he's sinful, even if he's dirty. So he welcomes him and he forgives him. The family that prays together stays together.